Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of West Ham Fan TV's post-match start. The only West Ham United post-match fallout show on the internet. There you go. I hate doing that intro. It's such a mouthful. Yes.
Need a table.
I'll give it a little bang on my desk. You know what I mean? I didn't want to mess up the setup. Nicky has restarted his computer. It was Nicky that was holding us up. Thank you very much. I went live just because of that comment to prove it. So yeah, well, Nicky's going to sort himself out and he'll be joining us. But we're talking about obviously West Ham 3, Portsmouth 1 in the first round of the Carabao Cup as West Ham go through to the next round and also break a Carabao Cup round 1 attendance record in that. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into the game. We're going to get into the transfer stuff and all of that business. But Scott, mate, it was. I mean, let's start. I know we usually start on the old starting lineup, but looking at that lineup, Scott, obviously we were talking in the group chat. You wasn't impressed with the state of the squad and the 11.
How weak does that squad look? Do you know what I mean? It was really, really. You look at the 11. I thought the 11 was quite good. Bit of a risk playing the two youngsters together. But you just look at the depth. There is no depth, and that's very, very concerning going into a league that is tough and physical, and there's a lot of games coming up. So yeah, it's concerning, mate. It really, really is concerning.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, mate. Nicky was in the background. He had his camera working for 2 seconds, by the way. All right, we can sort Scott's volume out. It sounds all right to me, but
Yeah.
I've got my volume up. Maybe let me edit Scott's mic settings for him. There you go. Because I. What about now?
Hello, hello, hello.
All right,
Now the
hopefully
echo's
that
back.
should. Now the echo's back. Oh, you've stitched us up, bloody people in the chat. What about now?
Hello, hello, hello. Still got an echo, mate.
Right, right. We'll sort it out. We'll sort it out. Scott's really quiet. Everyone's saying he had automatic volume adjustment on. You just have to speak up, Scott.
Yeah, I'll shout. Yeah, mate. I'll
So
shout.
anyway, yeah, look, like I said, overall with the lineup, like out of the players that we had, I was happy with the lineup that he selected for the most part. It was good to see Alvarez back. That was a boost. And, getting to see Kante, Orford, Skulls, 3 of the Academy boys in. But, I can hear myself now. Right. This is a StreamYard thing. Let me just mute Scott while I talk. And when Scott talks, I'll mute myself, right? So Scott, when you're ready to jump in, just unmute yourself. And then I'll mute fucking StreamYard. How much do we pay for this? Yeah, listen. We started abysmally. Absolutely abysmally. It was a hard watch. It was boring. We were second best. They had the possession. They had the chances created. And they was getting the corners. They were going for it. And I thought they were poor. They were a poor side overall. I mean, fair credit to them for coming out strong, but we just started the same passive way that we've seen so many times. Just slow build up play, just sitting back, passing the ball sideways and backwards, and just no real urgency on the ball. It was we're talking about that first half an hour, Scott. It was painful.
Oh, mate, it was really painful to watch. Like you said, you summed it up perfectly. It was sideways, backwards. It was slow, patient build up, but too patient. And this is the problem. Is what we said. We started very much the same way that we started last season. Being that really, really slow to get going, too many touches on the ball. Players were taking far too many touches at times when there was other options on. And this is the concerning thing, that we're going into the season starting the same way that we ended last season, and it wasn't good for us. You know, it's very. Look, we know it's the first game, and you can't. We're still sort of in pre-season mode, but you can't really afford to keep starting like that, if you get what I mean. You know, there's a lot stronger teams. No disrespect to Pompey, there's a lot stronger teams in that championship than Pompey. And you start like that, you're going to get found out, and you're not going to get, you know, the rub of the green in some respects of things. And the thing is, Dan, when we started to move the ball quick, look what happened. No, and I'm jumping ahead, but look what happened. It was good, free flowing football, 1-2 touches here and there, you know, beating a man and then getting your head up and looking to pass, and the correct passes were found.
Yeah, 100%. Let me see. Is there still an echo? Not too bad. I can't hear it so bad. Yeah, no, 100%, mate. And I just hope that Nuno learns from that. And that's not our approach every game, is to start, slow and cautiously. And, I just want Nuno to realise that we have got the talent. We have got the quality over most teams in that league, really. And we need to trust in that quality, because when we started going forward, when we started being on the front foot, that quality shone through. We were so much better than them when we got going. They were really poor, like really, really poor. The balls they were putting in, just through balls straight out for a goal kick, crosses out for flipping throw-ins. The awful final ball. They were quite physical. They committed a lot of fouls, and I mean the ref didn't really have a good handle on the game. I mean that Adams geezer, right? He is something else. That bloke. He's getting fouls. He's getting into fights, and I don't even remember. I think he must have got booked, but I don't remember seeing it. But he's lucky to be on the pitch. I mean that geezer, my God. But that just seems to be what they had. So when you look at Portsmouth, and this is why we can't carry it away. Portsmouth will probably be at the bottom end of the table in the Championship unless they really step up in the transfer window. I think they had 2 new signings on the pitch. So yeah, like in terms of us, but like that just shows you a team of that poor quality. Why are we starting like they're the better team? Why are we starting like we're in the Premier League and we're playing flipping Liverpool and we got to be a bit more cautious? I don't get that approach. Hopefully Nicky's all right there. I see he's chilling in the background. But yeah, so let's hope Nuno learns a lesson on that. I mean, we finally did get the goal, mate.
Yeah,
Go on.
that's the thing, mate. When you look at it, we did get, we got the goal, but they were the more consistent side in them opening times. You know what I mean? They forced a lot of errors. We're sitting there at home, right, against a team that were newly promoted into that league. I know it's a cup game and all that, but it's you're looking at it, and they dominated the possession in the final third. They had what 3-4 corners before we even really looked like going on a decent attack. They had a few shots on that caused a few problems. Okay, they got a bit of luck. They got a rub of the green with their goal, with the big deflection, but you give them too many opportunities by starting slowly, and this is what we can't afford to do. You can't look at that. You can't be pleased with that first 40 minutes of the game, let's be honest, because it's just not what the standard that we need to be up to going into the season. Against better sides.
It was a bit same old, wasn't it, from last season? Just playing tepid football, slow. And to be honest with you, when you look at Friday Night Pint, I said it would be like that because we don't look ready. But I think that become a bit of a shock to the system. But as soon as they started to realise that they had the quality and actually the team that are coming at them ain't as good as the ones that we played last season. Once they got into their groove, they was okay. But the thing they've got to start realising, West Ham, and it happened a lot last season, is there's a couple of teams in there that if you let them come like that, they will punish you. Portsmouth are shit. Yeah. They were shit. And we're going to face a lot of shit this season, but we cannot afford to grant the respect and the space. I mean, some of the space we was giving them, I thought the 2 kids had good games, but I did think there was times that when, there was a bit naive and they give the ball away, and that's just old sort of experienced championship players that were, that were fighting and, as you said, dogging and fighting. But they've got to start to realise every team that comes to that stadium this season will be like that. And some of them will have the quality to beat them. Like, they're all going to come there. It's a cup final standard pitch, a cup final, number of people going to be there. They're all going to go there and go, just fucking go at them. Fuck it. Like, they think they're the fucking big boys and that. It was a little bit worrying, but I must say this, our quality did shine through. Once we started to play, we really started to play, and some of the passages of play. But we aren't ready. It was quite clear in that first sort of 40 minutes. We aren't ready.
I just know if the manager's ready. That's the thing. Is the manager ready? And again, that should be a lesson for him. Even their goal was lucky. I see people trying to blame. Oh, I can hear myself. I see people trying to blame Kilman for it or Hermansen for their goal, but really and truly, it was one of them. They just had a go, and it was really unlucky. Kilman's there, he's trying to get in front of it, bounces off him. Neither of them can do anything about it, to be honest with you. So I can't blister anyone except the team for playing so deep to allow them to have that opportunity. Let them come at us, and we just exploit. They'll be open up at the back. So I don't think just because they're coming forward, we have to go back. No, we get that ball, we commit bodies up there, and we punish them. That's how we need to go.
Yeah, I agree. We have to go at these teams. Like, we can, this is not the Premier League. There's going to be different types of games. There's going to be different types of fight. I thought to a man, I can't really point out a bad play yesterday. I thought everyone played okay. I didn't think we were like, excellent or, play them off the park or whatever. But it seemed to me like they started to realise after about 35 minutes, shit, like this, if we don't put in here, it looked like we was going to roll up and, it'll sort itself out, But there's a couple of players there that have got to start realising. And I think the right ones were on the pitch as well. Like, Alvarez was getting himself about. He hasn't played for a long while with the West Ham team. He's only just come back, started training. I think he's going to be important, and I think that was important to see him in that midfield yesterday.
Yeah, he's lucky to stay on in the Prem. He would have probably got a red.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple of players in that West Ham team that are going to have to start to realise that they ain't going to be protected by VAR, and everyone that comes there can get away with the little slide digs and these sort of, grey area challenges and all that. They might get away with them this year, and that's what they're going to have to deal with. We've got to have people with bollocks. Alvarez has got some bollocks. Alvarez will be, one of them that will be a dogfight. But, there's a lot of them that have got to start realising shit. Like, it's going to be a fight this year. It's going to be a tough old season, and them games are going to come thick and fast. It's not like the Premier League. You don't get the protection of the Premier League. Yeah. You don't get the quality of refereeing of the Premier League. You don't get none of that.
No, and that's where you're right, mate. And that's what I said. You've got to show the Championship some respect, but you've got to realise that we are a Premier League club in the Championship. We shouldn't be there, and we've got to take that dominant stance over teams.
Yeah,
you can't allow them to dominate you, especially at home.
You do that against someone like Wolves or someone with something about them. Them. You're going to end up 2-3-0 down before you start playing. We can't afford to do that. Do that far too much. It seems like Nuno goes in trying to work out the team first, and that's what he should be doing during the fucking week. So, yeah, it was a worrying start, but that quality did start to shine through, and the big players did step up in the end. So,
yeah, Kante for the first goal. I think it was the first goal. Kante worked great. And to cut back to Tatty, right place, right time, just has to one touch, bang. And between the two of them, I think, that was a quality goal. And I'm happy for Kante to get the assist. But between the pair of them, that was just class. And that was just...
That was a fucking world-class finish. That is a fucking hard skill to do, the way he opened up his foot like that, opened up his body. In fact, there was two sort of top-quality finishes, so...
Yeah, you've got to give Kante a lot of credit. He got that ball in a good position, beat his man, and the key thing that he did is got his head up. That is the most key thing there that we've seen. We criticised Juve for like last season when he gets down the wing, doesn't get his head up and just puts a cross in. But this time Kante showed that he's got that bit of nous, that bit of quality about him. Gets his head up, finds the pass. You know, great movement from Tatty. You know, finding the space in there. Poor defending from a Portsmouth point of view. The fact that you've left the striker with that much time and space inside the 18-yard box. But the key thing is the pass. You know, and it was a well worked goal, and it was the first time for me that we actually got on the ball and started to move it around.
But this is the thing, Scott. We don't go forward enough, you know, and it goes to show. Like, I think there's a kind of just lacking in confidence. Like, I think they're a bit shell shocked from what happened last year. But we don't attack enough. Like, and it just showed when there was a player willing. I think Kilman done it at one point. He come out of defence and he started to run at play and he created a chance for Bowen. But there's not enough players there with the confidence to take the ball by take the game by the scruff and let him get forward. Yep. And when Kante did. Listen, it's one of them things you're going to have to learn it as we go along. Obviously, it's been a long time since we've been in the Championship, and some of these players are going to have a bit of a rude awakening. But we need a bit of depth in there. You can't rely on these 11 players because when you look at the bench, there isn't much on there that you'd say, that can make a difference and all that sort of thing. I think we're good enough. We've kept the players. If we can get rid of them ones that want out and replace them with some. Seasoned veteran. I think we'll be fine, mate. But the quality did show yesterday, and that's what we. There's a lot of teams that ain't got the type of quality like the Bowen. He's going to be, should be one of the better players in there. I think Tatty will score goals for fun. Them two finishes yesterday were brilliant, and he seemed to sort of revel in the fact that he was working hard. I know Pablo gets a little bit of stick, and by God, these fucking touches are fucking awful. But he will give you everything. He will give you everything, and. It's just one of them things. We just got to get the balance right.
I have to say, the Pablo, his assist was the most Pablo assist ever. He's got the ball, he miscontrols it, loses it, and then Tatty slides it home for a great. No, Bowen slots it home for a great finish. And look, I see Big Dave's fan Cam yesterday say Pablo haters are going to eat humble pie. I was saying this to you guys. I don't care if he slots 30 goals this season. I'm not eating no fucking humble pie because I've watched him play just not effort, but just be shit. Just be a shit footballer for all these times. So him going and scoring them goals, don't discredit all of the criticism Pablo has got. It's been warranted. It's been warranted criticism. He's been here 7 months, 0 goals, and he's just looked poor. But as I said, effort, all of that, we love it, and I respect Pablo. I don't disrespect him, but we've got to call it how we see it, and we see someone that looks to be a poor footballer. So whether he turns good in the end doesn't undo all the crap that he's played. So I think Dave was massively wrong there.
No, I do agree with you in points, but I did say to David, listen, like my heart sunk a little bit when he hit the post because you just think. Go in, and then the geezer might start to look at it and start. There's a lot of pressure on him, and he's gonna be. They booed his name when he was, when he was announced on the town. Listen. I know. I don't think he's great at all. I think he's got a good work rate, and at the end of the day, he'll give you everything he's got. But as a footballer, he lacks in a lot of quality. But I don't think booing him or getting on his back all the time, which I think we can be fucking people are going to say we're hypocrites here, he's going to help him because at the end of the day, it's a bit like Kilman. Like, once you go into it and you know that people are going to be disappointed to fucking see you and they're going to be waiting to jump on you when you make a mistake, you're going to make fucking shitloads of mistakes. That's just the way human nature is.
Your own players, I think that's.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, but he's going to be one of them players. Listen, at the end of the day, everyone's rooting for him. Well, I'm rooting for him anyway. Like, there's a lot of people that. Obviously want to fucking see him out the side, but if he's going to be playing, you got to be wanting him to, to turn it around. I think he definitely could. At the end of the day, like he's coming to the Premier League, that's one kettle of fish. You're trying to get used to that. Then all of a sudden you find yourself in the Championship, and then you got to learn it all fucking again. So. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, obviously, you just want one of them goals to go in. That one when he hit the post, you say, if that had just fucking come off the back of the keeper. Look at Antonio when he came. Fucking useless he was. He got that one goal where the geezer kicked it against his head, and he turned into a fucking West Ham sort of cult hero. So, hopefully,
I think with Antonio,
He had something
Yeah,
about him. I know what you're
he
saying.
had
I know what
something
you mean.
about him, yeah. And it didn't take him long to get that first goal. He got it like fairly quickly, but he had to. But it was just there's just something about him. Every time I see Pablo on the ball, it's like a comedy act, and you just
Ah,
wait and it's even down to his assists. So
but
so yeah,
football
listen,
is like that though. When you're in that sort of form and you've got that sort of pressure on you, nothing will go right. Nothing seems to go right. We've played it. Like there's times when we was playing football in Sunday League, and you're waiting. Like I think, how long did it take me to score my first goal, Scott? A year.
Quite a while,
Yeah,
mate.
and I was a fucking centre forward. And when I got my first one, I cracked it from like 45 yards. It went in the top corner.
And that's it. He just needs that rub of the green, doesn't he, to go his way. He just needs that chance. And like you said, that one yesterday, if that goes in, it's a big. We were talking about it the other day. It's just a big relief off his shoulders. It takes
Yeah.
that little bit of pressure off that he's got that first goal, and it's so frustrating because you can see glimpses that he's got something about him, but like you said, his touch isn't the greatest. In a way, that was lucky because that's what led to the second goal yesterday. It was his poor second touch really that allowed the defender to nip in and the ball broke to Bowen. But you just root for him, don't you? You just want him to do well and to get the goal, especially because it seems that Nuno likes him. Nuno wants him there.
Yeah.
He does get about the pitch quite a bit, but he just needs a break. He
Bit of
just
rub of
needs
the
that
green,
one
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
As I
you
went,
look.
his price tag ain't done him any favours.
No, no,
No.
that's the problem. It's the price tag, and that's half the time when you look at it, you look at the price tag of a player. You look at Kilman, as Nicky was alluding to earlier. The season he had last season with people jumping on his back. He was awful. I thought yesterday he looked quite comfortable. He
And
looked
I think
decent.
he grew in confidence as well. That
Yeah,
one when he went on that little run out, we've seen him do that before. We know he's capable of it. But again, it's just exactly the same. When things are going wrong, yeah, you think about it, you overthink it, and you can't do nothing right. You need
no.
that. Yeah, you need it to change. Naturally, you cannot do anything. You can't.
But I also think having Alvarez there in the midfield, having that experience that he brings and the quality that he's got, it gives you as a defender knowing that there's somebody like that in front of you in the midfield. You think back to last season, especially how we started the season. How many times our midfield was non-existent.
Yeah,
Absolutely
of course, yeah.
non-existent, and that didn't help the centre backs because they've got players upon players running at them. We got done so many times with a nice straight ball through the midfield, but now you're seeing you've got that bit of quality of player that can play in that holding role, can do that dirty work that you need in there.
He ain't
And
changed,
then
is he?
no, 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 and that's it. And you've got then the two youngsters around him, which Orford did well. I know he didn't close down the shot that come in for the goal quick enough, but the two youngsters having to step up to the plate yesterday showed a very very good account of themselves, and
Yeah.
it gives us confidence going into the season because. Let's be honest. Kante continues the way he continues there. Alford grows into the season. I'd rather see them starting over the likes of Wall Prowse.
Yeah, of course you would. Of course you would. I thought Kyle Walker Peters was excellent yesterday. He was
Yeah,
brilliant yesterday. He had that little bit of. Am I still echoing?
you're
Yeah,
still
I'm
echoing,
still
mate.
echoing. Hold on, let me try and see if it works now. I've got post match pass. Why I got this earphone in to monitor it. But yeah, Kyle Walker Peters, he got in a bit of stick when we played Southend, and obviously give away that penalty. And people were already going, writing him off and his shit. And yeah, like yesterday, he just picked up where he left off last season, and yeah, he was very good. And him and Bowen, I think, are getting a really good understanding of each other. And I said Bowen, I thought, was just class yesterday. I mean, he's cross for Tatty's second was just perfect. It was just pinpoint perfect, and that is something that I think Bowen he's gonna rip teams apart, and that's why I want to see him get some more support and more quality in the team and get a little bit more pace. So there's a little bit more danger, so he can get more space. But yeah, Bowen um, and Cole Peters on that right hand side, and they're going to be a problem together. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka's definitely going, and I'm happy with that. And I guess Veltman is a second choice right back / centre back. It's looking like, but yeah, Kyle Peters, I think he's going to be good this season.
Yeah, I think he showed enough last year to think, that he was going to be, um, a decent, right back for when fucking Wan-Bissaka decides he don't want to play. The three that have fucking come back from pre-season and refusing to play and won't do, they're a fucking disgrace. Right, and that's, when you get players like that, bear in mind Wan-Bissaka was our ham in a year, very very much a fan's favourite. Now to turn around and say, like, I'm not playing, like, I don't fancy that. It's just, it makes me feel sick, to be quite honest with you. Like, and it starts to make you see why the changing room's been so fucking sort of toxic, with people like that. Tadibo just seems like a fucking prick. Like, everything I heard about, he's going around chinning people. Obviously, he lost his head at Chelsea, which didn't help us in the game. But it just seems like a proper fucking knob. Right?
Yeah, but I think Talibo suffers from a lot of football
Anger
stuff.
issues, it seems.
Anger issues, and I think he thinks he's better than what he actually is.
So why did he listen? He had the chance to go to Juventus. Why the fuck did he sign for West Ham?
Maybe because he thought he was coming here to then go to Man United.
He should have fucking went to Juventus.
Yeah,
but Man United
this is the
couldn't
thing,
sign him,
I thought Talibo had a decent season last season, and I agreed with why he fell out with Nuno for the decision that Nuno made against Newcastle. But as I said, as much as I've criticised Nuno in the past, you can't carry that on. You can't sit there and refuse to play for a manager. You can have a falling out with a manager, but then as much as the manager needs to be a big man and sit down and admit when he's wrong, sometimes you as a player have got to go to him and sit there and patch things up, because at the end of the day, it's costing us. It's costing us because he's taken up a space in the squad. He's taken up a wage, and we can't afford in our position to have a waste of a player like that sitting there not doing nothing. And it seems that we've got three of them. You see when you look at the photos on the website of the squad in the kits, there's three players there who it's their a head and shoulders shot. Do you know what I mean? And you can just tell they didn't even bother turning up to the kit launch. Yeah, and you can't be having that. You can't be having that when you're in the position that we're in, and you need everyone pulling in the right direction. You can't afford players like that. And it pisses me off because the players still have the fucking power.
Yeah, 100%. Man of the match, Sir Julian, that's a good shout. It's a tough one. I'm going to lean towards Tatty. I think it's between Tatty, Bowen, and Kyle Walker-Peters for me. And I think, look, he took brilliant 2 goals, great performance. I'll give it to Tatty.
It's got to be Tatty. I think Tatty was great. But I got a big mention of Kante, though. I thought he was great. Second half especially, I thought he was really... He's going to learn a lot this year, Kante. Yeah. He's going to be an important player. But, yeah, I think in the end, although it was a bad start, I expected it to start like... I expected it to be like that all game. But it just seemed like we got into our rhythm. And hopefully, I wasn't too keen on the competitive game, but it is good because it gives you a little sort of like kick up the arse before the big game comes. I've heard from a lot of Burnley fans today their defence is fucking awful. So, we got to be going there and going at them from early on.
Apparently they've got rid of they've lost half their team. Apparently.
Yeah. So we got we got to go and take advantage of that because we have got Premier League quality players. Since January. Tatty got 7 goals. Then Babar got 7 goals when we signed him in January, and people say he's one of the best strikers. So we've got the quality there. And them 2 finishes yesterday, they were quality finishes. That first one is so you don't realise how hard that is to open up your foot, get the connection, and get it sort of spinning away like that. Quality finish. But we've got to learn. We are the big boys in there, and we've got to back ourselves because it just seemed like yesterday. I don't know whether it was. They didn't think they had to do much, and they just thought they could breeze through it, or, it was just a bit of like a hangover from last year. But they've got to start to realise, this is, this is here for the take. We've got the quality here, and we should be going at these teams. But, we'll see. Next week will be the big test. I am glad we're through, and I'm glad we've started with a win because I think it was important because, we saw that Sullivan was there yesterday, and I think if anything would have been sort of like gone the wrong way yesterday. I think he could have turned a bit nasty. I don't know what the fuck that geezer's up to. He's a, honestly, he's got some front again. But we'll just forget it. If he's going to be there, just forget him. Just ignore him. Just fucking get on with it. Because
Did you hear many songs, Nick? Many.
yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot rattling around the stadium. But the fella who he was sitting next to, he must be crazy to sit next to him. Honestly, it's it's just not. It's not a good look for him.
Apparently
I don't think
it was
it's good for the club.
The women's chairman.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we'll see. I just don't want to give him too much airtime because I think that's what he wants. I think he wants the attention, and I think he wants people to sort of take notice of him and talk about him. At the end of the day, it's about the football team, and it always should be about the football team. So,
and that's it, mate. And this is the thing, like you said, you don't want to go into this season talking about him at the end of the day.
No. We don't need any more distractions. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need all the distractions gone, and for him to show up like that, it's just sticking two things up to people. At the end of the day, as much as we need the players that don't want to be here out the door, we need him out the door because we need to be focusing on the job that we need to do. And every focus now should be just getting us back out of this league, back into the Premier League and moving forward. And going back to what you were saying about Tatty, he's very underrated. He could be the difference this season. He really could be. If we can keep him fit and keep supplying with the goals, mate, with the chances, he will be something special for us this year, I think.
I think he will be Golden Boot contender. I really do.
Definitely.
Well, this is the thing. Like, we need some signings in. So we'll talk about the signings. Let's talk about Jamie Vardy, which is just random as you like coming in. And look, I don't know. He's got to be like 40 years old now. And look, he's one of them players that I think played quite long on, into his career and his life. He's playing still well in his late 30s, but he's 39. Yeah, I don't know if it's just a step too far. Look, if he comes in and it's a free transfer and he's not on high wages, you think, okay, we've got to maybe take a punt. But you got to play in a certain way when you have Jamie Vardy. He likes to play off the shoulder. So you're playing deep and you're sticking in the through balls or the balls over the top and that runs onto him.
But Dan, that's what you want. You want that type of player. Last 20 minutes of a game, and you're chasing a game. What you're going to look for? You want a player that's going to play off the shoulder. Even if you're sitting in a situation when you're 1-0 up, and you want to see out a game. I'd rather see a Jamie Vardy coming onto the pitch than us go all out defensive, because I never have faith that we're going to hold out when we go ultra defensive. But you bring a player like Vardy on, even for 20 minutes, even at the age that he's at, that guy knows where the goal is. That guy knows how to play off the shoulder of the last defender. And then as a defender, if you get the ball and you're under the cosh, you get the ball and you're going to ping that over the top. The one thing when Jamie Vardy's on that pitch, he's going to be getting there. He's going to be causing defenders problems. And for too long, we've seen, go back to Bournemouth last season. When you take off a striker that causes defensive problems to bring on a striker that's not going to run in behind, not going to sit on the shoulder, the defence pushes forward. With someone like Jamie Vardy, they're not going to do that. I think if Vardy's there and Vardy's available and he wants to come, I think bring him in. Sod the age. The guy knows where the goal is. The guy will be able to last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, towards the end of a game, to give players like Tatty a rest, because, we said it last season, we didn't give the quality players that we've got, like the Bowens and all that, a rest. But having someone, you're taking Tatty off, who you've seen the qualities that he's got, and then bringing on a Vardy who's completely different, in the mindset of a defender, it's like, oh God. We've gone from this guy who's technically quite good to this guy that's going to cause us problems all day. He's going to harass us. He's going to make us run. They're not going to want that for the last 20 minutes of a game.
The only thing is I would say about, but I just don't think we would play to his strengths. We don't play quick enough. I think he thrives off the fact that you get that ball and you get it forward and you get it into the channels or whatever, or get it through the middle quick enough and give him a chance to run. We don't play like that. You know what I mean? But listen, the geezer's never going to not know where the goal is. I think he's getting on in age, and you've got to use him sparingly, and he'd be handy for when you need a goal. But I don't know whether we get the best out of him because I don't think we play the sort of football that suits Jamie Vardy, if I'm honest. And they're not going to change to fit it round him because we ain't got no one else like him.
No, but the thing is though, Nick, is that if you have someone like Vardy, it gives you that opportunity to change the way you want to play. You know, and that's the thing. You know, it forces, not forces the hand, but if you've got too many players and you're one dimensional, if your plan A isn't working and your players that you're bringing off the bench are one dimensional because they're just very similar players, you've got no other options. If you're looking at someone like that who's completely different to what you've got, it allows you to do different things, which then makes the opposition think as well as, like I said to you, as a midfielder or as a defender, you've got a different option. And that's what we lacked last season. We didn't have enough options this
I
season.
agree.
It's what we need.
Yeah. Listen, I think if he's cheap enough and he's obviously willing to take a shorter term contract, I'll take him for a season in the Championship. No problem at all.
As an option, he'd be on the bench. I don't think Pablo, we're ever going to use him as a proper striker. He's always going to play behind if it's in a two, or he'll play deeper. So I don't view him as like a proper striking option. It seems Parrott, we've put a £15 million bid in there trying to get Troy Parrott, so that could be the one. So if you got Troy Parrott, Tatty, I'm 50-50 if he's even going to stay. There was just certain body language. I'm not a body language expert, but the wave, I don't know, it's up in the air. Apparently Everton might put a bid in for him. But Tatty, Parrott, and then you got Vardy as an option. I think that's really good, and that's what we need to be trying to do. Someone asked about Dele Alli. Apparently that's all bollocks, the Dele Alli stuff and him training, so we can put that in the bin. But Solomon seems to be done, right? We ain't got your thoughts on Manor Solomon, Scott. But that seems to be done and dusted, wrapped up, and it looks like he's going to be having a medical, or has had a medical. How do you feel about that?
To be honest, mate, I don't know a lot about the player. I've never heard of him before we signed him. I see that you on X saying that he's injury prone, but we said the same thing about Callum Wilson. And I don't think Callum Wilson picked up an injury playing for us last season. So, listen, we need something different. He's a winger. We need wingers. Especially since we've lost Somerville. So if he's going to play on that side, then great. And we saw yesterday that having a decent enough winger that can beat a man and get their head up and pick a pass, we've got the players to make the movement and find the open spaces on the pitch that we need. So, listen, if he comes in, he does a good job, then that's all we want. That's all we want. That's all we can ask for. I know there's a lot of other stuff floating about around him, but forget about all that. At the end of the day, he's a footballer. We get behind him, and we want him to do well when he pulls on the shirt. And as I said, I don't know enough about him to comment about his footballing ability.
Well, I was speaking to my uncle yesterday. He's a Leeds fan. He was down, and I mentioned that we were signing him, and he said that's a great signing. He said he is brilliant. They was desperate to keep him. I think they offered Spurs 10 million, and Spurs turned it down, and now they've had to sell him to us for 5 million. But he's quality. So if he can stay fit, that's a big boost on that left hand side, and something that we desperately. So a player as well that knows the league that we're in, has got that experience. So yeah, like if he can stay fit, great signing. Regardless of all the baggage that comes with it, if he comes in, puts a shift in, and scores goals, creates chances, whatever, just has a good performance, that's all you can ask for a West Ham player, really, and helps us get promoted. That's what we want. So yeah, looks like that one's done and dusted, and hopefully we just keep getting the business in, and keep moving.
I think he just gives everyone a little bit more of a feel good. I think everyone was a bit worried about the lack of business. Obviously, like there's been all these rumours about takeovers and it might delay, or now we're starting to see a couple of people come through the door. I think people are starting to calm down a little bit, and that win yesterday I think would have eased a couple of people's minds.
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. By the way, I found out this echo thing. I was just messaging some other YouTube people. It's not just us. This is a streaming.
Oh, it's a StreamYard problem, is it?
12th man are having that issue. A few Chelsea
We'll go
greats
elsewhere
on
if you
there.
don't fix it, StreamYard. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So it's not just us that are having that. So I felt a bit relieved, but it's still annoying. But yeah, like ultimately,
Sorry, Dan. Before we go, on, quick
yeah, go on,
question,
mate.
right? What positions do you think we really need to strengthen in now? Now, yeah, we seem to have got the left winger through the door. Yeah, we're still a bit shy of cover there, but we know Juve can stay there if we can keep out play out sort of out there. We've seen Kante can do it. But what is now for you is the key positions we need to strengthen in?
I
There's a.
would
I,
say,
I think there's a couple. I think we definitely need another midfielder because the problem is with this league, and it's about getting the quality in that can come in and make a difference, right? But the problem is with this league, it's so thick and fast. You get someone out that's out for a week, he could miss 4 games. You know what I mean? Like because they come so thick and fast. And so I think you've got to have cover everywhere. Like you've got to have 2 players that are ready to play at a similar level, right? And listen, it ain't got to be the very best, but a team like us, we've got to start prepping for a fight towards the top of the league. And if you don't do that, and if you leave a couple of positions to chance, and you turn around and go, well, we've got a great right back, but then he goes down, you've got no one to replace him. The problem is you could end up like a Leicester or someone like that, like missing out by a long time or fucking plunging down because you failed to prepare. You know, I think that's the issue. I think the games come so thick and fast that even like an injury that a Premier League player may miss 2 games, you can miss like 6 games in the Championship at times. You know what I mean? So you have to be prepared everywhere. So we definitely need another midfielder. We need a cover for centre half. Although Alvarez can put in there, I'd rather have someone like that. And we need someone to play. What happens if Bowen goes down? Who the fuck's going to come in? You know,
That's the big thing for
forget
me,
if
mate.
Bowen goes down. We need someone to relieve him
of
in
the
the game.
pressure,
Like,
yeah.
how is he playing fucking 97 minutes when we're 3-0 up?
But
Like,
that's what
we've
I'm
got
saying. We
46
we
league games to
we
play.
need these quality players in the covers because although we have got probably a great team, we're 1 or 2 away from thinking fuck where the goals coming from or how do we fucking stop them from going in now?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, mate. I do with what you're saying there. We need someone to cover for Bowen and help Bowen out on that right hand side. I think Cole Walker-Peters has made that right back his own for me. And that's a lot for me to say because I didn't like him when he first come in. But like you said, another centre half would be great. Another midfielder would be great, and just that cover on the wings. Even if we could get a player that's not at the top quality, but a player that can play either wing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Like I said, Traore would have been the perfect option. Who could have been a backup. But yeah, I think we definitely need a player like Fernandez or someone that can play a creative midfield role, someone with a really good passing range. Because I like Kante, and I think Kante's really good at driving forward. I mean, that cut back, he got the assist. But someone that's skillful on the ball, creative, can pass and I think we really need a player like that, and we haven't really got a profile like that, not at a high level. So I think that should be our priority once we get Parrott through and Solomon wrapped up, and then like Nicky says, cover and you says got someone play either wing. So you got cover for Solomon because we need another left winger, someone who can play on the right. And then, yeah, we need to see obviously what's happening with other players because
We need like
we
what
need to have the
Big
youth.
Sam bought him when he came. He got the likes of Abdullah Faye and John Carew, and they're like, listen, they weren't at the greatest point, Papa Boupa Diop, but they played football, and he knew that they'd battle to the end, and they weren't going to be expecting to play every week. They weren't, it weren't like they was promised first team football when it's going to upset the car. They know what they're coming in for. They're at their, the tail end of their careers, but it's the experience you need, and the players that are willing to roll up their fucking sleeves when it gets tough. And they was the sort of players that we had the quality, like Colton Cole was in there. We had Vaz Tay, who was fantastic. We had Kevin Nolan, who was Premier League quality. I think we've got more quality now, but I think in terms of skill and people that are going to roll their fucking sleeves up, and when the game gets tough, I don't think we've got enough of that, and that's what we need. We need some fucking real grit in there.
Yeah, you need some fighters. That's
Top
what you need,
fighters,
some
yeah.
fighters. Yeah, people that know the league, that have been around, that have done the job in the game, and do the nitty gritty stuff. Not the pretty fancy stuff. You know, you let the Bowens do the pretty thing, but you need people in there that are going to get down and dirty.
People that
and
enjoy
fight.
doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There we go. But all in all, like summary, I was pretty happy with what I saw yesterday. Like the way it ended, I was pretty happy. Like it seemed like we did get a little bit of a kick up the arse, and it was sort of like it was halfway through the game. It just sort of started thinking, fuck, like we do need to put in effort here, and it ain't going to be as easy as we fucking think it is. So, yeah, good to start with a win.
Burnley's the one because it's a big chance for to get the first 3 points on the board and start our title challenge off strong, and that's what I want to see. So
You got to make a mark. You got to make an impression. You got to show everyone this is we're here. You know, we're here to fucking fight for it, and we're gonna fucking do it. So.
Yeah, 100%. So we should have Solomon wrapped up. We got to see Veltman get some minutes in him. He'll probably be a squad player anyway, but he got to come on the pitch. And like I said, Solomon should be wrapped up, and hopefully we'll have Parrott signed by then. We'll see. Engels, they're still trying to work that one out. I don't know if we're going to get that one over the line. Apparently, with Engels, Martin O'Neill said he has requested that Celtic doesn't sell any players until after the Champions League qualifier. So if that deal is done, it won't be until after the Champions League qualifier. So I expect a lot of late business, but if we can just get like at least one, maybe two over the next week, and then maybe we can do some last minute business, loans and all of that stuff. We link with Reece Nelson, who I would definitely take. We talked about someone that can play, in those positions. I would take Reece Nelson. So yeah, it's going to be a busy August, hopefully, guys. And a lot more wins. So listen, people don't realise the fucking ag that I've had to deal with. Every time someone speaks, I have to mute the other two. So if I speak, I have to mute Scott and Nikki. If Nikki speaks, I have to mute me, and it's just fucking spinning plates back and forward. So sort it out, StreamYard.
Yeah, we'll have a little inquiry about what's going on and see what the issue is, and we'll email them and whatever. And if they don't sort it out, we'll move somewhere else. There's plenty of things like this now.
Yeah,
so.
and Nikki's going to get them codes and start selecting those people.
Yeah, I've got another. What have I got? Another 6, is it, or 4 to give away on the comments. So keep on commenting on Friday Night Pint. But if you did win one, make yourself known to me, and them codes will be coming soon. So, yeah. But in the meantime, if you want the new shirts, if you don't win a shirt, go on OK Jerseys.
Yeah, 10% off. Nikki said it's not like listen. They're cheap enough anyway, guys. So if you didn't win one, just go and get one or two. Happy days. They got the home and away. I don't think they've got the third on there yet.
I don't think anyone will want that fucking third. I don't think
it's going to be popular. There's a couple of people that I've seen. What do you think of the third shirt, Scott?
I don't like it, mate. Do you know what? The training tops are better than the third kit.
I liked that claret training top I see him have yesterday. I'm not a big training top fan. I think most of them are just black. But that was a nice one.
That third kit looks like a fouled tie-dye. Looks like he didn't put enough fucking knots in it. Honestly.
Oh, God.
I think it's too close to the white one.
Yeah, it is.
Like in colour, like there's not enough difference in there. Like they're meant to be 3 different tones. Like, I reckon we're going to get a 4th one.
You said that. I don't.
Yeah, I reckon we are. I've just got a feeling these bigger companies like to put out a little bit of a money spinner, a New Balance for a bigger company. Like, I reckon we're going to get a 4th one. Like a little surprise.
That's got to be a first, isn't it? The first ever Championship club and 4th kits in the season.
It probably all hung on how we got on yesterday. They thought if they win, we'll put it out. Fuck it. But we'll see. I might be totally wrong. I don't know. I don't know no more than anyone else. So, but it is like a fucking oven in here. Fucking hell.
Yeah, it is. It's
only going to get hotter, mate.
Yeah.
Weird.
So listen, we'll be updating you in the week with transfer stuff. Hopefully, no echoes. And we'll keep you all up to date. But Happy Hammers win on to the next one, and we start our campaign. I'm excited to get this championship season started.
I'm not excited for that travel, but I am excited to go in that cricket club. That's for sure.
we got the draw tomorrow, actually. FA Cup,
Yeah.
sorry, Carabao Cup second round draw. Unless it's Millwall, I'm happy for us to lose that and go out and focus on the league. I'll be honest with you. Right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The Premier League clubs start coming in it now, so yeah.
Yeah, nice one. Well, thank you all for watching. It's
Thank you.
do it the old subscribes. We're chasing 89k on to 100k, so do it the subscribes and thumbs ups and all that stuff. Thank you very much, and shout out to Living Proof. His boy done his first fan cam, and he spoke very, very well, mate. So thanks for bringing him on. Glad you're happy with it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. One thing left to say. Come on, you.
Come on, you ones.